because I'm an intern and I need to be trained and I need experience, so I'm okay with that instead of a minimum wage, versus working in silos as individuals versus a collective or a community, which is what is probably more interesting. And there were a lot of problems with this whole concept of changing needs of society and of individuals, and there is a gap between the two. So the gap is between, at a society level, there is change in the traditional system, which is being a doctor was extremely lucrative at some point, but today I don't want to be a doctor. Not everybody wants to do that, so you're trying to go in between stratas, but at the same time you're also trying to work with this motivation of, are you trying to satisfy yourself or are you trying to sustain yourself monetarily? And that's a big problem as well. So two solutions that kind of stood out for this was A, let's create a dialogue between the traditional systems and the alternative systems that's kind of springing up, and say, we as outsiders or as hybrids, how do we become insiders and create an impact in this traditional system? That's one. And the other thing was maybe start something like a network economy and make that super big, which is, let's actually start bartering our own skills. So let's use each other as resources. So I might be good at marketing and you might be good at programming, and we can work together to create something for ourselves and put that into the market and create new wealth with that. So these, I think, would be the two solutions that also kind of stand out.
Beautiful. This one in a bit.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
So we had the question mark session table actually, and it was pretty interesting because we started with different questions and we ended up the last rounds into education. And there were a lot of talking about how many skills we are and how do we really present them to be representative of ourselves, and for example, how in a CV you can put your hobbies, but there are things that are your passion and you're passionate about the work, and not to undercover your educational background and academic career, let's say. And then we said a lot about, the question was, are we open to different options of making a living, and how open we are also to choose what we are going to work and in which domain, or we are forced by parents, society, and so on to do what we are doing and what we are used to do. And then there is this question, a gap actually between the initial idea and the ending up action and the work. And sorry if I missed something important. And there was about also talking about passion and curiosity, which are things that also leads us to find the work, and critical thinking and motivation. And there was also about how to combine family and working life. I think pretty much. And that we need maybe innovation in administration was also a question. I think that's pretty much. I don't know if people want to add something or if people forget. Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you very much.
So we were talking about recruitment, and it broke down into sort of several sub-discussions. We were talking about recruitment, and it broke down into several sub-discussions. One theme that was throughout was that the resume process, the hiring process, was very broken, really on both sides, and that people were writing resumes and they never got a reply, and that just wasn't working. People were being told they didn't have any experience because they just graduated, so they couldn't get a job to get experience. And these, I think, are problems that we all know just from reading newspapers. And the flip side of that is, part of the reason is there just aren't enough jobs. So we discussed that a little bit, and that led into some really interesting discussions on, well, how do you do, in some sense, your own recruitment? How do you start find other people to work with, how do you start to do entrepreneurship. And these things are very hard, so one of the things we can try to think about is how do we make them easier. But one thing that came up a few times that was a very good point was the problem is how do you find out what other people need? I mean, that's really the problem you try and solve. If you can make yourself useful to other people, then you are now hired. So, these were the sort of themes we went around. I don't know that we really came up with any solutions. The things that struck me as the sort of person who was there all the time was that, there's a need to somehow make it either to teach or make it easier for people to get together. And things like the Edge Rider conference, but repeated for very large numbers of people, were what helped, just to bring people together and make them aware of what the opportunities were. And also to break down this hiring thing of, somebody gets 100 resumes, chooses 3 to interview, and then chooses one person, which, if you've been on either side of that, is actually just an incredibly broken way to do it. And it doesn't actually work very well, even when you're trying to find a person. It works much better when you know them, which is why people fall back onto personal networks. But then you have to have the connections. And I think the one question that we didn't have a good answer to, even though we tried to discuss it a few times, is, what about the people who don't go to university? What sort of support do they need? Because, they need they probably need help coaching on how to write a resume, how to even get into this process. And, that's another set of problems that, we just don't know how to address.
Thank you very much.
Speak now. So, our table, the main topic was social innovation. We started to talk about obstacles, and to be honest, most of the discussion was focused on about obstacles, because we started to say that institutions are not able to manage the change because are disconnected from each others. And also we were talking about time and how catch more time to develop stuff when we love, because social innovation, in general, innovation is more linked with stuff we love, so we believe in, we trust. Because time is not enough, we have to have a difference between time to work and live, so to daily routine, and time to find our way, our personal or project. So interconnectivity between people and between ideas, it's a very important point that we discuss about, and above all about social network too. And so go out the box. So go and tell people in what they need, but in a participatory way. And one good point was also be in entrepreneurship of ourselves, but be entrepreneurship also in a company where you live. And in particular, Tudor gave us a very good contribution when he said manage people inside the company to take initiative, not only to be individual, to have an individual project. And there are three ways: autonomy, possibility to be part of a project bigger than you, and of course improve your personal skill, your professional skill. What else? A lot of stuff. Okay, of course the open government, it's another keywords. So open public architecture, open public policy, and open environmental policy. So open means share. So open means also find new methodology to learn and improve our future way. So a lot of stuff.
While we're getting the papers, we heard think out of the box. I heard the comment, just get rid of the box.
So we had topic allies And again, if some people who participate in it find I missed something very important for them, please come over and just add it, because I cannot probably put everything myself. So we approach this allies as a networking among groups and projects and individuals who have common aims and background and goals and interests. And then talking about this networking, we talk about the way we structure this networking on a micro and macro scale, so within one project, between individuals, and also in the same way between projects, that we're looking at how to collaborate and work with each other, not for someone or someone for us. And